Well, hello and welcome, welcome and hello and welcome, welcome and hello and welcome. Let me just start off before we get started here and just welcome you warmly. Say hello and welcome, welcome and hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me on this extremely special, important, monumental edition of Un Poco Moss, the show where we give you just a little bit more, guys. Once again, it's the King's Table Buffet 7000. Hello and welcome, sir. Roland Dubs, great Roland Dubs with us. Hello and welcome. Of course, the greatest of the great, the greatest viewer we have, the greatest person in the world, as far as I'm concerned, the great Princess Jay in the house, the great Jesse 31309. It is time to Poco, guys. 3, 2, 1. Let's Poco. So, of course, we're talking SMCI. I know I'm like a broken record on this thing, but I've talked about SoFi till I'm blue in the face. SoFi is absolutely crushing it. I'm about to do a Neo video as soon as I, get a little bit of time on that one. But SMCI is the number one stock of 2025 in the entire stock market. The big, sexy Fred Flintstone, probably the smartest guy in any room, and definitely the guy with the biggest head, Steve. Just wrote a great piece on, seeking alpha going into his position on Supermicro Computer, why he purchased long shares as well as some short data calls just to trade around this, filing deadline. And if you know anything about Steve, he's a very data-driven, conservative, logical guy who does a ton of research on something. And honestly, it kind of surprised me a little bit that he came into this stock, and he even said as much at the beginning of his article. He's like, this isn't the type of stock I normally invest in, but why is there a ton of upside here? Why is momentum continuing to go up? Why is the stock up another $2.18 after hours, after going up like $8 today? So the stock's up $10 on the day. I think it's up close to 90% on the year or something like that. Guys, the reason is because they destroy the stock. There's no fundamental reason for it. People are searching for answers. They're like, how did the Hindenburg report drop it so low when there was really no, fire? It was only smoke. How did, because it's designed to part retail with their money. Market makers wanted to buy these shares at 20. And they did. And a lot of us sold them to them. Now, I do the opposite. I try to follow the smart money. I try to take advantages of the opportunities they create. First run, easy six-figure on calls. Second run, six figures on calls. I'm up. This is just a cash register, guys. This was a layup. This was an absolute layup. There was just, if you start to look at the numbers and you start to look at the allegations against them, the proportionality to the price drop just didn't make any sense. And I think anybody who looked at this, logically saw what they were up to. And we see this over and over. There's another reason I'll tell you, this is very subtle, and you have to have seen hundreds of these over the years, and you have to watch all this data. This was before you could really get this stuff online. You had to read the reports, and it was 2 weeks behind, and you had to go back and look at the charts from before and sort of piece all the data together. Now these aggregators do a lot of it for you, but first off, 130 million shares traded on the day. So that's just right back to where we were on Friday. And then yesterday was 158 million. But if you look at what happened with the short, okay, they returned 6 million shares, but here's the interesting part. They were not covering. They were just returning these excess shares. They had, if you remember, almost 200 million shares on loan, 100 million short. What you're going to see is that continues to go up and pressure continues to build on the shorts, and they continue to flip. You're going to see the opposite happen. Look at SoFi now. SoFi used to have about double the shares on loan that were sold short. Now it's the opposite. Now they're naked short. Now they have way less shares on loan than the actual short interest. So you'll see this start to go down. That's what happened today. They returned 6 million shares while borrowing heavily. Guys, look at these aggregate short volume ratios. Okay, this is is this from today? What is this? Why is one from yesterday missing? I don't know why, but in any case, I think there's a glitch here. But basically today, 58.53% aggregate total volume. This is the heaviest shorting that you've seen on the stock in a long, long time. And you're still seeing the stock, go up $10. So I think Wall Street investors, smart retail investors, everybody sort of saw the game. everybody sort of saw the carnival game, and everybody, plays along. $18, huh? And then Uncle Chuckie just absolutely posterizes these shorts, just dunks in their faces and says, like, okay, we're going to play your game. We're going to be very conservative with our numbers this year. We're going to, go down to 23. I'm sure they could have pushed the envelope and pushed that number up and pushed things forward, but why? When you're already growing the top line 54%, and then the absolute hammer is that 40 billion figure. And when you listen to Uncle Chuckie and the CFO kind of go through that and explain why they felt that was a very conservative projection based on where we are with the beginning of the ramp of Blackwell, why they're positioned to take a third of the new, data center business in terms of AI, GPU, all that stuff. I mean, they went through it chapter and verse, and it was very, very credible. One of the things when you listen, to the CEO of SMCI, the guy just comes across as a freaky genius who understands, this technology at a depth that most of us could never even hope to understand. I mean, half of us can't even see our own wiener anymore. What am I going to design some type of high-tech liquid cooling AI data center racks and then deploy them around the world in billions of dollars as a corporation? I can barely find a sandwich for dinner. Let's see, guys. What do we got? Oh, the great Nautilurker, the great J Money, PJ in the house. Definitely don't like and subscribe. That makes her furious. When you like and subscribe, Princess J just gets so angry. She beats me unmerciful around the head, breast, neck, and chest with a wet noodle. Oh, where's the dignity? Anyway, guys, so they're shorting the living piss out of the stock today. They're returning shares. The stock's going up. Everybody's buying in. I mean, if you combine institutional ownership that's not going anywhere, you combine insiders that are only adding, you combine retarders such as myself that are going to be very, very stubborn with their long shares. I mean, you're just going to have a tremendous amount of buying pressure when this filing hits and everything looks good and, the delisting overhang is gone. Then the stock's going to go back to fair value. And I mean, we're not even at the starting line yet. But like, okay, it went down to 18, then it 3x'd, and then came back down to 25, and now it's more than 2x'd. And people are like, okay, take what, and I don't fault anyone for taking profits. I was doing that on the short data call side. I mean, my 2026 and out stuff, I'm still just holding on to because I believe there's a tremendous amount of upside here based on multiples. I mean, the stock is still trading, just over this year's sales, like 30, if they're not even going to trade, like even if you don't want to give them credit for the 40 billion, even if you take 20% off their very conservative estimate, they'd still be at 32 billion. That would still be about 12% above analyst expectations, which had them at about 28.6. So the fact that I think the sort of, import, the sort of, gravitas, the monumental nature of that $40 billion projection for next year for the fiscal year that starts, remember their fiscal year starts July 1st. So their 2025 is just about over in another, less than 4.5 months. And they're talking about the market share they're going to take. They're not, Uncle Chuckie's not guessing. He knows where these orders are. He knows the data centers they're going to be building, toward the second half of this year. I mean, I think, the executives are sort of dumbfounded by the allegation versus the reaction in terms of the price action. It just didn't make any sense. Like, okay, assuming all this is true, they're still going to sell 40 billion next year. They're still going to make a bunch of money. And you're going back to some, I would argue relatively minor accounting indiscretions that mostly happened years ago, were the subject of like whistleblower lawsuits, employment actions, wrongful termination actions. And that's where these allegations come. So people like, oh, Hindenburg's a genius. He's not a genius. It's just blunt, obvious market manipulation. You draw because of freedom of which not everything you say has to even be true, and go, hey, this is what's alleged. And then you put it through the echo chamber of these, bloggers, YouTubers, idiots, whatever, bald a-holes on cable television, or like, there's just no nuance. They're just like, sell it, dump it. And then all of a sudden everybody loves it. everything changes. You see this, the article I highly recommend this is just vintage Steve, extremely logical, fact-based, number-based, why he's saying isn't the typical company I would normally invest in. Took a position. My cost base is 33.62. That's a nice entry point. Purchase calls, 35 strikes. So he's making a ton of money on calls. He also has a play with $50 calls as a hedge. And it is Steve, so logic and wisdom prevails. So he's actually hedging his position, unlike fat idiots such as myself. SMCI was down 46%, 52-week high. We know all this stuff, guys. Basically, risks. The filings, the competition. We know all that. Bought the mixture of calls and shares. That's I had a ton of calls at first run. Got out of them, went back to shares, went back to calls. I'm just bouncing all around because I'm just trying to make as much money as humanly possible off this momentum. And he's talking about, NVIDIA. This will be the tide that lifts SMCI higher if it delivers a 10K for 2024. Their new accounting firm issues all clear. It could be another short-term catalyst. This needs to happen before 225. So, we only have a few more trading days on that one. Also purchased call spread, which means I bought calls at 32 strike price, expiring 321. Sold the $50 calls against it. So, he's betting that the price is going to fall somewhere in that range. Calls and call spreads are my short-term investment SMCI. If things do go well in the next several weeks, shares I purchased likely become a longer-term. That's exactly how I'm playing it. Brilliant minds think alike. Steve and whoever else, Neil deGrasse Tyson or somebody. I'm just over here like a squirrel trying to get a nut. Move your butt. You guys remember that great CNC Music Factory that's on those, Jock Jams and all that stuff now. You guys order Jock Jams? You guys make stupid impulse purchases late at night? Hey, honey, should I order this Jock Jam CD? It's like, we haven't had a CD player since 2003, Bill. It's like, so I like the cover. People are dumb at night. You order dumb stuff. I bet half of you guys have a Snuggie. You don't have to admit it right now, but you have a Snuggie. You have a lot of, just dumb shit. Instead of those knives, I gotta say some of that stuff's not bad though. I mean, I ordered a set of knives on TV like 30 years ago, probably when I was, having a couple of brewskis, and I'm still using those things today. The Miracle Blade, Ron Popeil, the inventor of the pocket fisherman. My favorite part is when he brings out his uncle. His uncle's like this old bald guy who's been, selling stuff at the state fairs. He's like, I sliced this tomato so thin it has 3 sides. He's like, maybe you're cheap. And they're like, skinning tomatoes, just doing all this stuff, throwing produce down a little garbage chute and the cutting board. It's like QVC light. Why? How was Ron Popeil so tan all the time? Is Ron Popeil still alive? I have no idea. The man invented a lot of stuff. Pocket fisherman. Anyway, guys, I have trouble sleeping. So I used to know every late night product that was on during the 1990s. I find myself overweight and sweating at this point. So I'm going to follow the advice of the great Jay Money, not a lurker, a great wrench. I heard the great Alberto Berdievla is currently on vacation, as he's want to be. A man sells options, does vacation, rides Harley Davidson, does facial hair. That's what he does. Oh, just like Maryland does crab cakes, football, Berdievla sells options, takes vacations. Chatters at Lisa, talks her up a little bit, chats her up on the chats. We get the great Marco Guzar. If you're not taking out high interest loans on your 2024 F-150 class seats and buying half shares and options, what do you guys? Guys, take a payday loan. Take an auto title loan. Take a cat. No, don't do any of that, guys. I don't buy. Like people like, should I take a margin loan and buy? No, guys, you shouldn't. Like, if you don't have money, don't try to lever up and buy stocks. It's not. I know it's very tempting, but it's not smart, because these things can go the other way, and I don't want to see you guys get hurt. I mean, if it's a situation where you have other assets and you just don't want to sell those assets, then that's where margin becomes useful. If it's like legit margin where you're trading off stocks you own, not some of this like BS where, you're on these payment for order flow things where the margin thing is really basically a credit card. They're just trying to bend you over a barrel, give you a guided tour of the 50 states, get you a high interest loan, get you into some foolish positions, get you losing all your money. So Steve's bullish. Like, that's really all you have to know. Steve's way smarter than you. He has a bigger head than you, and he's bullish. And he goes through the numbers. He goes through, look at these annualized revenues, guys. I mean, this is what we're talking about here. 3 billion, 5 billion, 7 billion, 15 billion, 23.5, and 40. So in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they're 12xing their revenues in 5 years. I don't know. That's crazy growth. Crazy growth. But there's other, good authors who are also very, very bullish. Momentum Research, Stone Fox Capital. This guy's really smart. I don't know if it's a man or a woman, but anyway, Supermicro's overcome accounting concerns and is poised to thrive. U.S. hyperscalers. Just read these articles for yourself. They all kind of go through the same thing. I think one of the points that just got completely overlooked is the fact that they were able to raise money at such good terms. That was one of the major points of FUD. Remember, they're like, oh, they've engaged. I forget the name of the company. They're going to raise money. They're desperate. When in fact, they're growing at an extreme pace. That's why they need money. There's good reasons to raise money. There's bad reasons to raise. Bad reason, you're going bankrupt. You're burning money. SMCI has the opposite problem. They're growing too quickly, at least for their compliance and legal department. As far as revenues, it's great. Who doesn't want 40 billion when you're just selling 3 billion 5 years ago? I mean, reality versus narrative, fact from fiction. If you can separate it early and get in there ahead of or with the market makers, that's where you make that wealth building money, that generational money, that game changing money. Anyway, let's see. No, I'm definitely not okay. I'm not. You really got to listen to me because I'm not. No, yeah, My Chemical Romance. Oh my God, lip rings. Let's see, guys. Yeah, that's really. I just, kind of wanted to what's going to happen tomorrow. I think more of the same, honestly. I think the foot's on the gas pedal. I don't think anything is changing in terms of, the CapEx on AI. I think, Uncle Chuckie's fairly confident they can capture, 30% plus of that market, which is just going to be hyper growth. And, as the investment sort of subsides in the new factory and some of these things, are paid off, you're going to see that get down to the bottom line. Because although the margins aren't crazy high, they talked about how the margins are going to greatly improve because of the place they're at the beginning of a product cycle rather than right at the end of the product cycle. The last time they said margins sort of came up, they're, just came down from 13 to 12. They expect those to go up to around 17. So the people that are just saying, hey, the margins are going down, EPS isn't growing, you have to realize where you are. Things are cyclical. So, and then in terms of the chart, again, I think you're going to go up to 73 plus. Just look at where we are. So it already broke here, 55, got through all this stuff. Look at the gap here. It goes from 47 to 51. It's almost the identical gap here. It comes out the same way it went in. You basically see consolidation here, the huge dump and pump here, and then the stock coming back up. So where do I see true resistance? I see this is artificial. This is artificial. The real resistance I see is probably around 73, 74. I think if it gets that high, I would definitely take profits at that point if you're a short-term trader. I think 63-ish could be some more resistance, but I don't think it's going to be. I think the momentum is just sweeping everything up, and we're in an avalanche of momentum now, sort of, even more dramatic than what we saw with Palantir. And this is a very dramatic move, coming up off of 17 to 48 and then 25, pushing up towards 60. After everything looks bullish. The volume looks bullish. The fact that they're shorting into it looks bullish. The fact that the right people are starting to flip looks bullish. I mean, you can see that in these funds that, are coming into the stock. And you see kind of the plays they're making, whether they're actually short. I mean, Citadel, more calls than puts by a ratio of about 4 million generally. Wolverine, same thing. They're in there more far more calls and puts with some shares. There's Citadel again with their little bit of long position. All these companies have these options plays on the stock, whether, straddles, strangles, you can't really tell, but, it's all kind of, esoteric or whatever at that point. It's basically they're betting I think they're betting the stock is going to go up. Susquehanna, another one. Short, long, is a little more on the bearish side on their position, but these filings aren't brand new either. UBS Group, same thing. So you'll just start to see those shares on loan come down, relative to the short. You'll start to see these bigger, smarter, huge shorts flip to long, make money on the upside, and they're going to push this thing. They already pushed it to 120. And think about where the revenues and everything have gone in the past year. I mean, it's just dramatic. This guidance is just crazy. And you think, well, he's just making it up. They're not going to sell that. They'd be lucky to sell 30 billion. I listen to the guy and I really think he knows what he's talking about. I could be completely wrong, but I really think he knows what he's talking about. And I think, the fact that this just cleared all this consolidation so easily, just blew past it. I mean, look at these candles. This was just at 42 2 trading days ago, guys. I mean, this is just a monumental move. This is a biblical move. It's a Frank Costanza. My move. I stopped short. Anyway, guys, there was really no point to this video other than to tell you what's going on with the returning shares while shorting the stock. It just does not look good for the shorts. I don't think they have anything to do. They're still, cost to borrow min is still in the negative, but that's not really the issue here. When a stock makes like a 90% move a year, you're not really worried about the cost to borrow. You're worried about the actual, hard losses you're taking. And believe me, that borrowing is going to run out. So, stock sitting right now, 58.14, up 4% after hours, up over $10 on the day, over 20%. And the short, there's no relief for the shorts. I mean, because of how far this thing got pushed down. You have to think it doesn't matter where it just came from in that sense. I mean, it matters what it's worth now versus the price now. And if you take a look at, forward sales, you take a look at any metric you want. If you think management has credibility and they're going to get these filings, and this thing is still dramatically undervalued, 33 billion market cap. I mean, you're still talking about trading under 1x forward sales with a company, growing extremely rapidly, which would give you a much higher multiple. I would think this stock should be trading 5x forward sales, honestly, even with the modest margins, because those margins are about to greatly improve over the next year or so. And I think Uncle Chuckie's projections, for me, have credibility. I listen to the guy talk. I don't think he's as shady as those trees he was supposed to save. I don't think he's flimsy as my hairline. I don't think he's as greasy as my giant forehead. Guys, is it possible I've been a scrunch face my entire life and have just not realized it? As you know, a scrunch face in the mold of a Giuliano Bologna, it's where all your facial features are extremely compact and scrunched into the middle region of your face, like a Jay Leno face, and you just end up kind of looking like a quarter moon. Like all your facial features are here, and you have a giant forehead and a giant chin. But I don't have a giant chin. I got a weak chin. That's why I grow the beard. So I don't look like an asshole like that Dan Bilzerian guy, the fake poker player. Oh, man. Anyway, getting a little bit far afield. We have two brothers. Which one is it? Calling SMCI wife. Just dramatic. Oh, my. Forex forward sales. Give me a fair share price of $341. Strunchy. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Charles would sit Carp on his lap and tell him it's all going to be okay. Do his best sock puppet impression. Oh, man. The Palantir guy is so cocky, and I love it. I just love it. He's got crazy hair, too. Fully loaded at 35. Excellent. Party time. Excellent. ZOH Cold. My spreads are going crazy. Excellent. I'm very happy, for you guys who are making money. Chuckie said 40 billion. I thought he was crazy. Right now, however, I believe that will be. I kind of thought the same thing. I was like, they're looking for 28.6 or whatever. I was hoping he was going to say 30 billion. You know, that would have been, in my mind, aggressive. When he came out and said 40, I was like, excuse me, a baking powder? To quote the Wayne's World movie. I don't know why I said that. It's pretty dumb. Anyway, guys, a lot of stuff I said is pretty dumb. No more share buying after 35 for me. Yeah, Peter, I can't blame you. I mean, hopefully you load it up. I mean, because obviously, you know, it's over 58 right now. Anyway, guys, we'll have to see what happens tomorrow, but I think it's going to be, you know, more explosive upside to the stock. Obviously, waiting on NVIDIA earnings. Intel's going crazy with these buyout sort of breakup rumors. CRISPR, guys, I was trying to get you guys to buy that high 30s, just saying that's gone completely nuts. SoFi's going up. The only thing I got to coach up right now is NEO. The valuation does not make any sense valuing that company is based on deliveries and pretending that, you know, battery swap doesn't exist or has some negative value. It's ridiculous. I don't care about book value. I never had much use for book learning, guys, and I know you didn't either. Anyway, guys, want to thank the great Princess J. Would like to thank the great Not a Lurker anymore. Would like to thank the great Alberto Bertie Aviles on vacation, wherever he is. Of course, Beach Boy, thank you, sir. Stuart Joy, could be 70 by Friday. It's, I mean, it could be 70 tomorrow, Stuart. I mean, if they didn't short, it probably would have been 65 today. That's a big short. That's a huge short ratio. Huge short ratio. David, like I said, that 74 area, I think you'll see retracement from there. I think it could go much, much higher, but I just don't think it's going to move all at once. It just depends. If you're long term, I would not take profits. I think this is going to go back to all-time highs if they execute. But you just your time horizon, you know what you're doing. Like, I can't tell you when to buy, when to sell, but I think, you know, coming off of $25, if you can get to 74, I think that would be a nice place to take some profits for me. Almost 4K subs. Hey, it's all ball bearings these days. What is the situation with ADMA and their accounting? I don't know. $3.99. Love my cash secured puts or shrinking to nothing. There's a gap fill at 88. Yeah, there's a couple gaps on the chart, John. Anyway, guys, I gotta run. It's been real. I really appreciate you guys watching, but I'm just looking for more upside tomorrow. I mean, momentum, volume. They shorted today, still went up $10. I think the fair value of the stock is, you know, like I said, without the accounting issue overhang, should be trading, I don't know. With this type of growth, when you're talking about, you know, averaging 100 and some percent growth, then 54, that's you just call it 60% growth just to be, you know, not give them the benefit of the doubt. 60% top line growth in AI. I mean, it's got to trade 3x forward sales, 120 billion market cap. It could 5 seems more reasonable to me. 200 billion market cap, but they have to show us the money. That's if they actually execute and hit these targets. If you come back to me in 6 quarters and they actually sold 40 billion, the market cap should be minimally 120 billion, more like 200 billion. I mean, just comparing it to anything else out there, if the margins are up and the EPS is up, whoa, good save. If basically what Uncle Chuckie says is going to happen and what the CFO says is going to happen actually happens over the next 6 quarters, you know, the stock should be up dramatically from here. Where, I can't say because I'm a big idiot. Nala crash alert. What about that old guy who's anti-SMCI? Dude, I mean, honestly, that I know who you're talking about, and I'm not going to say the guy appears to be confused about the financials, but the guy appears to be confused about what the financials mean. And he doesn't really seem to understand how corporate finance works and how convertible notes are accounted for. Nobody has that in the share count years early. They're not shares. They're not trading. They don't exist. They're, you know, potential shares. They're a gleam in their pappy's eye. So, yeah, no, I know what you're talking about, and I know the risk of dilution is there, and almost the certainty of dilution is there. But just to find fault with that and sort of indict the company and say that's somehow shady. Every single company that issues convertible debt is doing the exact same thing. So every single major public company is shady then, by his logic. I don't get it. I watched his video. I couldn't make sense of it. And that guy's had some pretty intelligent takes. I saw his videos, a long time ago. I kind of liked what he had to say about CRISPR. He was one of the first guys talking a lot about CRISPR and the gene editing stocks, of course, a lot of which have completely crashed and burned. You don't want to be too early with technology, guys. We're like, oh, you want to be first. You want to have first? No, you don't. First mover advantage is the first person who's able to make money from it, not the first person who thinks about it daydreaming. People don't even understand what first mover advantage is. They're like, oh, QuantumScape has first mover advantage on solid state batteries. No, they don't. They're not even planning to make any revenues for years from that point. Like, they don't have any advantage. They don't have any mover. They're not any mover. They're not first mover. They're not second mover. Like Costan's like, I think it moved, Jerry. I think it moved. Like the first mover, the first person who usually gets scooped, and somebody more ruthless with more business sense comes in, takes over, and makes all the money and pushes, founder Bob and his knob off the boat. Anyway, guys, when the mini water's gone, it's time to move on. I appreciate you guys oh so much. It's been just the honor of my life talking to you turds. A lot of people as examitis, you only read the title in the first paragraph and all of a sudden they're experts. Yeah, 1 penny inflation, get your salary in 8. I couldn't make sense of what he was saying either. Yeah, I know. You mean Steve? I know you're talking about me. Yes, he does. Danny needs more. I don't need any more YouTube love. We don't need to wait down the second quarters. I'm with you. We'll see where it goes, but 8K in 3 days. You're my CNN of SMCI. Let's see, guys. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. I will keep pumping. I'm gonna pump Neo soon. I am definitely not a genius. I have been certified as not a genius. Wake up call. Definitely a certified non-genius. So the first thing I remember my parents telling me, like, son, you're not a genius. I don't want to disillusion you. I don't want to burst your bubble. You're just not a genius. And you're portly. Here's your overalls and your tuba. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I really